Okay, so let's first look into the client side. Okay, so we are developing a public chat system. The client side is straightforward. All we have to do is we have to read from my input stream and write into my output stream. So whichever client is getting connected, his only job is to read from my input stream and write it into the output stream. Okay, the first step in this is nothing but, so let's look into our client. This is our client. Okay, the client side. So the first step is I'm going to create my socket. So create a socket. I'm going to create a socket. Okay, to create my socket, let's name our socket as S. To create my socket, I need to get the what? The server location, or in this case is always going to be localhost and the port number, right? We provide a localhost and port number and we get the socket, instance of a socket. Once we get an instance of a socket, the next step is to get your input and output stream of both these of this particular socket, so that we can start reading and writing from these input and output streams. Okay, so second step, let's first get the input stream. So I'm going to name it as IN, my input stream as IN, and to get an input stream, I'm going to use the socket instance itself, that is S itself. Okay, and you get the input stream. Okay, you have to use the other classes that is required by stream classes, whatever classes that is required to get the input stream, but I'm just going to tell how you need to get the input stream here. Okay. Okay, you need to get your input stream. So its name is third step. Same thing, I need to get my output stream. Okay, again for the same socket instance, I need to get my output stream. So you use whatever classes that is necessary to get my output stream. Okay, once you have your input stream and output stream, okay, what we can do is, as required by the output of program, you can read the name of the user from the user, okay, who's going to start your communication, and then write it into the output stream so that it can be later on read by the server. So the next step is to read the name from of the client. Okay, so read name of the client from the user. Okay, so this should be read from the user. Once you get this data from the user, okay, let's say that it is saved in this particular variable called name itself. I need to write it into my output stream. So next step 5 is write my name that I received. Okay, the name that I received from the user into my output stream, which is nothing but out. Okay, I need to write it into the output stream. Then later on, it is a server's job to read it from the server's input stream to then display it in the server side saying that so-and-so name has been connected. So we just have to write it into a. Okay, once this is done, the next step is, since we have to continuously be reading from my input stream and continuously be writing into our output stream, I'm going to perform both these actions, that is reading from my input stream and writing into my output stream as in 2 separate threads. So I need to create 2 separate threads over here. So this next step is to create 2 threads, T1 and T2. After creating both these threads, step number 7 is to start T1 and T2. So I'm going to start both these threads. So once I call the start, once I call this start thread, this is actually going to invoke my run function, right? It's going to invoke my run function. So the next step is what I'm going to do inside my run function. So inside my run function, what I'm going to do. Okay, that is the next step. So step 1 inside my run function is I need to identify which thread it is, whether it is T1 or it is T2. I'm going to make use of T1 to actually write it into my output stream, to write into out, and T2 to read from in. Okay, so first identify whether the thread which is calling run is T1 or T2. So let's have a condition over here. So if my current thread is equal to T1, okay, then say step A from 1, step A, then I need to perform these actions, that is read a message from the user. Okay, read a message from the user. Okay, write this message, that is B. Write this message MSG to my output stream out. Okay, so this is the output stream that I've created over here. Okay, the output stream. So I'm going to write it into that particular output stream, and this should continue until what? Okay, repeat this until message is equal to, say, bye. So as long as the user types in bye, this should continue. If it is not bye, it should continue. If it is bye, then it should stop executing this particular thread. So this is what happens if the current thread is T1. Else, if the current thread, step 2, okay, if current thread is equal to T2, then what to do? Now, if T1, I'm going to write it into my output stream. T2 will be used only to read from my input stream. Okay, so then what I'll do first, I'll read from my input stream in IN. So this is the input stream that I've defined earlier. Okay, my input stream, where is it? Yeah, this is my input stream. Okay, so I'll read from my input stream line by line, so one line at a time. Okay, so you must make sure that you read one line at a time, not character by character. You can do character by character, but you will not know when to end. So one line at a time, one message at a time. So you need to use what a particular class that lets you to read one line at a time. Okay, so next line is a function defined in certain classes which you can use to read. Read line is another function which is again defined in other classes which you can make use to read line by line. Okay, so you can use any one of these. I'm just telling you, read from the input stream line by line. Okay, after reading from the input stream, you need to display this to the user. So next is display to the user. Okay, display the message to the user. So whatever be the message, if it is a bye message from a different client, then I don't need to stop this particular client, right? So I don't have to stop the thread over here. So over here, I don't have to repeat until the message is bye or don't. I just have to keep on reading. Okay, I need to keep on reading. So this should be, we can say, we need to repeat this as long as possible. Repeat infinitely. Okay, infinitely I need to repeat this, or you can give a loop so that repeat that. It will keep on reading messages one by one from the input stream. Okay, so this is what is there in your client side. This is the only thing that you have to do in the client side. Just read from your input stream and write it into your Now everything else is can be done in the server. Now every client that you create is going to what? Is going to create an instance or socket instance. So every time you run your client program is going to create a socket instance, get its corresponding input and output stream. Okay, read a user's name from the client, create 2 threads, start both these threads. Each one thread will read from the user and write it into the output stream. The other thread will read from the input stream and display it to the user. Clear?